So it's now my honor and pleasure to introduce your afternoon keynote speaker, and that's Wade Minter, who's the product principal at software development agency DualBot Partners and the founder and CTO of HR startup Suggestion Ox. Wade was part of the founding team at sports technology company TeamSnap, as well as VP of Engineering and CTO at companies like AdWorks, WeaveUp, and Custom Communications. This may be my favorite paragraph. Outside of tech, he is the arena announcer for the National Hockey League's Carolina Hurricanes and the ACCHL's North Carolina State Ice Pack. He's also the ring announcer at Gouge Professional Wrestling, which sounds amazing, and I can't wait to hear that. And he's a 25-year veteran of improv comedy and a recreational ice hockey goalie, just in case you need one. So Wade's keynote today is titled Great Products People Love. Let's give him a big arena-like round of applause.
We got some Caniacs in the room, that's great. Awesome! See how this clicker works. Beaut. That's me, that's me. Hey! Hi everybody. I'm Wade. You know all of that already, so that's really cool. But that's a great picture of me, honestly. So I'm going to talk to you about building great products, which I've done myself in companies and startups, which we do at DualBot Partners. Not the first guy to say DualBot, will not be the last. So I can get a good sense of the room here for our folks out there. How many people here in the room would consider themselves technical founders? All right, excellent, thank you, I appreciate that. Raise your hand, excellent. How many people would consider themselves more product founders? Product founders, raise your hand, awesome, excellent, thank you. How many people consider yourself more sales and marketing founders? Some of y'all, excellent. How many people in the room never answer questions involve raising your hand? There's always one. That's called a paradox. You just destroyed the universe. Nice job, pal. Always one, always one. But yeah, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about building products. So, multi-step process here. Number one, you got to find the product, right? It starts with an idea. You can start with a little idea and start with a big idea, but there is an idea all around. My recommendation is kind of look at your life, look at the circles that you interact with, see if there's a problem out there. See if there's something that's not working real well. See if there's something that you feel like, based on your knowledge, your experience, your access to technology, whatever you're good at, could I make something that would make the world a better place? And if so, what would it take to get there? So that's the first thing, like, where is the problem? And if you can't think of a problem, then think of something else, right? Because if you're not actually solving things, if you're not actually making the world a better place, it's going to be hard for you to be successful. You can also look at other places that are solving your problem, but they're doing it not great. God only knows how much of the world runs on Excel. And if you can take an Excel, they laugh, but it's true. If you can take an Excel sheet and turn it into an actual product, hey, the free idea right there. Or if you see a competitor out there that's doing something that's not going to help, figure out how you can do better. That's what we did at TeamSnap. We saw other companies in the industry that were doing it wrong, and we're like, you know, we can do it better, and we did. Figure out if this is a solution that anyone will actually pay money for, because if not, you don't have a company, you have a hobby. And I have plenty of tools I've built that no one will ever enjoy but me, and that's fine. But if you're going to build a company, you have to receive value out of that for the value you're bringing. If you can't think of a world in which someone would actually pay you dollars for the problem you're solving, consider if that's actually the problem that you need to solve right now. And then finally, how can you test this idea? Ideas are great. I come up with at least a half of one every month. You may come up with more. But you got to figure out how to get it out there and test it in order to see if this idea can turn into a product. Awesome. You can see everyone falling asleep right now. It's great. So how do you test that idea? Well, first off, you have to figure out how to scope and design this thing that may become your product. At DualBot Partners, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've been one myself. The idea that you have in your head, once you come up with, yes, there's a problem in the world, I can solve it with a product, is this big. The amount of time and money you have is this big. So how do you cut that down from something that is very large and likely not accomplishable to something that is? Well, figure out what is the key thing you're doing, because the thing in your head probably does a lot more than that. Really narrow it down to one specific thing at the very start, just one thing. If you can do that one thing and do it well, and people will like it, use it, buy it, you've got a great start there. So try, and I know it's hard, y'all. Try to really shrink that. What if I took more away? What if I took more away? What if I took more away? You'll get to the point where you're like, well, it's not a product anymore. Great, stop there. Because you can't accomplish everything by yourself, and you can't accomplish it all at once, but something you can kind of wrap your head around, you can. Think about the system that you're going to need to support this little idea you have and the things that you're going to go to. It's real easy to add features down the road. It's real hard to fundamentally change the assumptions your product makes about the world. I'll give you an example. At TeamSnap, we built a product to help people run youth and adult recreational sports teams. And it was a tool intended for a team manager, team mom, team dad. The team was the world, right? The universe was the team. As we grew, we got to a point where it's like, oh, actually, we need to have problems that are solved for a league, an organization. But we had built a product that assumed at its very core that the only thing that it existed and it knew about was a team, and that was hard to unwind. So you don't have to build everything, but kind of think about what are the fundamental assumptions about the world that your product's going to make. Try to plan for those in advance. Because if you can plan for those in advance, you're going to save yourself a lot of headache down the road. Finally, you got this idea, you figured out what's going to be. What do you do? Well, build your UI and UX. Build your screens, build your wireframes, build your whatever, because that is going to be the thing that ultimately tells you, did you need that feature or not? If you put that into something visual, if you can put it into flows, if you put something in there and you're like, I could not take this away and this thing would still work, great. Way more than a bunch of spec documents, you know what you need to build. Because if the thing that you're looking at is the thing that ultimately comes out the other end, you're probably doing it right. And for me, who is a terrible visual person, can't draw a straight line to save my life, that really helps me focus in on things when I'm building a product. It's one thing to kind of get the idea in my head, it's another thing to pull it out, look at it, touch it, and share it with people. Do you see the same thing I see? Then you got to build it. That's right. This is where I come in, because I'm a software guy. That's what I do. And pretty much everything I'm talking about here is for tech companies. So if you're not a tech company, if you're like making food, I'm sorry, I don't have to for you. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's tasty. So, how do you get there from, I've found my problem, I've scoped my problem, I've even built the UI and UX, I've got the screens, I've got the wireframes. What do I do now to turn that into something real? Well, there's a few things you got to think about. You got to think about, like, all right, what parts of this do I absolutely have to build, asterisk, build right now, and what parts of this are other people doing better that I don't need to worry about? Does your product need to send an email? You don't want to be in the email sending business. Trust me on that one. It is a nightmare. Let someone else handle that. Do you need to do graphing and charting? Is that something you need, but it's not core part of your business? Tag somebody in for that. It's a balance of time and money. If you don't have any money, then you probably can't buy a service. But if you do, you can buy yourself a ton of time. And time is really what you need. So think about, like, what is the thing that I'm doing that's going to bring value? What are the other things that just kind of have to happen, the basic blocking and tackling of building a product? See if you can find somebody else to do that. Now you can always replace it later if you're successful. Do you build something custom, or do you use some of the low-code and no-code tools? The answer is it depends, but the way you should think about it is, again, time and budget. The low-code, no-code tools out there are really good. They can get you pretty far without you needing somebody like me to come in and develop something. You will eventually hit a wall at which the things you want to do exceed the limitations of that product, at which point you might have to kind of go back and rebuild it, but you're rebuilding with a lot of lessons learned, so you should be more efficient. There's also the risk if you build your company on top of someone else's business, if that low-code, no-code company goes out of business, then not great for you. Again, think about the trade-offs. If you build something custom, it's yours, you own it. It's going to be more expensive, it's going to take longer, but then you control everything in the roadmap. There's no right or wrong choice, but you need to think about, given your constraints, what is the way you want to go down, because picking a path is going to take you somewhere that's just going to be mildly inconvenient to come back from. And then finally, do you do this in-house or outsource? Do you bring a team? Do you hire your own people? Do you hire somebody like us? Do you find freelancers? Once again, it's really about your constraints. You can get really far with not having a tech team. If you are not a tech founder, maybe that's not what you're good at. Maybe you don't need it. If you are a tech founder, maybe you know exactly who you need to hire, you know where to find them. But the way you choose to build it will, again, put you down a path that'll be kind of a little tough to unwind. So understand where you're giving up, what you're getting in each of those areas. And I only have 20 minutes, so I can't tell you everything about that. But come see me afterwards if you want to go into more detail. Hiring people is hard. Like, you're committing to people, you're putting their lives and their family in your hands. Outsourcing is tough. There are a billion people out there who do what we do. I work for a software development agency, and I get 15 emails a day selling me software development services, right? You clearly are not doing your research, people. You can find freelancers everywhere, expensive freelancers, low-cost freelancers, but now you're a development manager. And maybe that's the life you want. Being a development manager, I'm saying you probably don't. And because it's 2024, I have to put this slide in, whether I like it or not. Hey, has anyone heard about AI? I have. Especially if you're out looking for money. Because again, it's 2024, this is the life we live. They're gonna ask you, like, what are you doing with AI? And you have to have an answer, for good or for bad. What are people talking about when they say AI? Lots of stuff, none of it consistent. But it can broadly be broken down into the hip, trendy new stuff, which is generative AI, or as we say in the biz, Gen AI. Or kind of tradition, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Or the traditional AI machine learning, which is more focused, it is more scientific, it is not as sexy, it is more battle tested. Probably in these modern times, they're going to be asking you about Gen AI. And there's a couple ways you can incorporate that or think about how to incorporate it. One is using Gen AI to build your product. So this is things like copilots. As a software developer myself, they're super handy. They make me very efficient. I can just describe to a copilot in VS Code or something like that, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. It can spit out some code. I can say, well, that's not quite right. I can tune it up. For a developer acceleration model, it's great. Generative AI is amazing for that task. It's not amazing for every task, but for like spitting out code, top notch. So if you are using developers, encourage them to use these tools. It'll be great. I'm going to completely gloss over any sort of copyright and intellectual property stuff because I'm not a lawyer. But the tooling is out there and you can take advantage of it, and I encourage you to do so. Using AI is part of your product. My product has AI. Cool. Why? Because I need investment. I mean, it's a fair answer. But generative AI is really interesting because at its core, it's just really badass Mad Libs. Like, you describe a world and it sticks in when most people, when they're talking about this, they stick it. And sometimes it's brilliant, sometimes it's like, wow, this is terribly wrong. You've just like gotten me in legal trouble by telling me. Output from that, if you're putting that right out into your users without any sort of editorial or filtering, good luck, because they're going to ask you some weird stuff. There was an article a few months ago about Air Canada's chatbot telling people one thing about a bereavement fair, and they're like, that was a lie. And the judge said, well, your chatbot said it, so now that's true. Find areas if you need to put that in there where it's going to be additive, where you understand the limitations, where those limitations are not going to get in your way. Try not to make it just a gimmick, unless your investors demand it. Which in this case, go get your bag, King. I'm not going to judge you. Iteration. Once you have found that product, how do you then grow it? Well, number one, listen to your users. So the people who are initially using a product, ideally paying you money, certainly the ones who are kind of making it part of their day-to-day routine, they're going to give you some amazing feedback. They will not always be correct. the temptation is always there to listen to one of your 3 users at front. They're like, I would really love your product if it did this. And you're, oh, I want you to love it. But sometimes they're asking you for things that are just going to be a weird one-off for them that you shouldn't do. So hold tight to your principles. Like, know what you want this thing to be when it grows up. Take that feedback. But then feel free to say no. Feel free to synthesize it with other things you're getting. I also encourage everyone in your product to spend time with your customers. If you're a technical founder, non-technical founder, like be on customer support, answer those emails. That's where you're going to know if your product's working or not, because the people who are complaining are telling you that it is not. And they are the best. If you can turn them into your advocates, God, you will make a friend for life. Find me after, I'll tell you the Mo Markadafi story from Teams Now. Set it up right. So then you got to figure out, okay, I've gotten all this feedback. What comes next? What do I do? Well, again, it depends on time and money. But if you're bootstrapping, like figure out, like, all right, how can I incrementally grow this? If you're going to go out and get investment, you got to figure out how to tell the story. More and more investors want you to have product market fit. They want you to have revenue. They want you to have user growth before they put any money into it. That's true. I don't disagree with that. That was somebody's phone. It's not 2022 anymore. They are not going to give you millions of dollars just because you have a cool idea. And then how do you grow your company or team? A lot of that, I say, depends on who you are. If you are a sales founder, that's great. Find yourself product people. Find yourself technical people. If you're a technical founder, by God, get sales, because if you don't have sales, you don't have a company. And as a technical guy, I grew up thinking sales was the enemy, and I've been enlightened since then, because they're the reason you have a job. Find a multidisciplinary team, either of people working with you or people you have hired. Make yourself strong in the areas that you are weak. Build that team where everyone gets to do what they're good at, and everything they're doing is additive to what you're trying to do. So I got a few closing thoughts after I kind of whip through that. The timing is right, and you might be like, wait, have you seen the economic news? And I will say yes. There's a lot of layoffs. It's a weird time. However, a lot of the people that you're going to try to take business from are scared. They are tightened down. They are not innovating. They are like, we're just going to ride this thing out. And, if you have a new idea inside this company, get out. They're going to be cautious. That is the time where you can be brave, especially if you can use a lot of these tools to make the most of a limited budget. Throw something out there. See if it makes a difference. You might actually strike some gold. You might find that it's a terrible idea, in which case you haven't spent a ton of time and money on it, throw it away. But when other people who are taking the business that you want to have are acting scared, that's a great opportunity to go for it. The nice thing is in 2024, the tooling is out there, whether you are a technical founder or non-technical founder. There's a lot of opportunities and a lot of different paths that you can take to get your idea into a product that will make life easier for users in some way, shape, or form. Low-code, no-code tools are amazing. There's a ton of different development options. There's stuff that doesn't involve development, like put it in an Excel spreadsheet. Everyone else does. Like, you can get those ideas out there and start solving problems and do it with relatively low, you can do it on the side, right? Like, the amount of stuff that's out there that will help you get an idea out to market is amazing right now. Don't sleep on it. You don't have to do everything at once. You can get paralyzed by this idea of like, oh, I'm going to build this multi-million-dollar company. It's going to have 10,000 employees. Oh God, how do I get there? You don't have to get there. Solve one problem. Solve it well. Solve it for a value that will get people paying you money, even if it's just a few dollars. Like, prove that you can ease people's pain, like Bill Clinton said. How many of you are pain? I'm old. Okay, but do a little thing. Everyone can do a little thing, right? We're all smart people. Then grow it, then grow it, then grow it. Because I guarantee you, the one thing that I can promise is the thing you eventually end up with is not the thing you're thinking of right now. Guarantee that. So don't try it. Do something small. And then finally, you have help. Like, look around this room. Isn't this amazing, this community here in Winston-Salem? I'm from Raleigh, so don't throw things at me. But it's great. Look around you. Like, so many people want to help you. Mentors, investors, labs, like the whole deal. Like, there's so much help out there these days. Take advantage of it. Everyone is out here trying to do this. for you, collectively, to build a great ecosystem to help you be successful. Let them share some of the burden, let them teach you, let them introduce you to people. There's nothing wrong with that. You can be a Nepo baby if someone introduces you to the right person. It's fine, no one's gonna judge you. Take advantage of this wonderful community out here or wherever you happen to be, because I guarantee there's stuff out there. I am going to end approximately 30 seconds ahead of time, because you know what, if nothing else, I am punctual. Thank you so much, enjoy the pitches. Come see me if you'd like to.